From the 2020 F1 in Schools World Finals, so far we've seen fast times, big breakages, and a whole lot of mascots. For your daily recap, you're listening to Trackside from Off the Track. Hello and welcome to this episode of Trackside featuring George Soda.
Hi.
We got Lawrence Fines.
Hello.
And Marcus.
Hey there.
And myself, Michael Walker. Today we're going to be looking at a few different things. We'll start off today with the first day of racing. We've seen some really fast times from some teams with times that are close to the 1 second barrier. We're looking at Prismatic with a 1.014 leading the board at the moment from Greece. We have also been in contact with a team from the Republic of Ireland, Quintilux, Team 30, and we asked their opinion on how they think the races are going.
It's such a high standard this year. It's really good.
Yeah. It's exciting to watch that everybody is competitive. There isn't just one person that's out ahead. It's kind of every race is something different.
You don't know what to expect.
Exactly.
So guys, what do we think about the times?
Yeah, I guess it's really good effort from the teams. Probably it helps that the regulation didn't change that much from last year, so they could build up on previous R&D results and improve.
George and Lawrence, do you think that the more consistent regulations were an advantage for the teams this year? Do you think it made it easier for them to develop good cars to build off what they saw last year?
Yeah, I think we saw when Lawrence and I were at the scrutineering that lots of teams when we were going through the rules, there hadn't been too many changes from previous years. So yeah, the teams could really work with what already existed and develop it further and refine those ideas.
And I think we can't forget that the new smaller front wheels will have reduced the times very slightly. But I still think a really mega effort from the teams with the difficult circumstances this year to still be pushing forwards.
And how do you think the difficult circumstances have impacted on the quality of the cars we're seeing in terms of build quality?
I would say there has generally been perhaps a slight drop, but that has been, for example, because whereas teams might before have been sending their cars to external companies to have them paint them, they'll have painted them themselves. And actually, it's very possible that all of the steps of assembly have happened in one place, apart from maybe the machining of the block.
But I think with the way that teams have been forced to work more online, we've seen large increases in the number of, or the amount of virtual testing and development that teams have been able to do. So I think from the R&D side, teams have still had a lot of time to develop their ideas, although they are limited by often not having access to physical track testing.
It certainly seems that we're seeing a lot of breakages in the competition, but that we're still getting lots of good performance as well. So I think both of you have really hit the nail on the head with that. So talking of breakages, it seems that we've got a lot of stray wheels at the moment and rear wings popping off. Lawrence, what do you think of this? You've been spending today gluing back cars from all the breakages.
Well, at a usual World Finals, we'd see a large array of different deceleration systems. So some teams would use the F1 in Schools supplies brushes, some teams would use the towels, and some teams would actually design their own deceleration systems. So I think that has played a large part. But also we've got to remember that when we went to our World Finals, I think we looked after our car as if it was a precious gem. But these teams haven't been able to do that. They've packaged their cars up and then prayed as they took on their thousands-mile voyages.
I think that's how many cars did you get that were broken, guys?
It was probably below 5. I'm thinking 2 or 3.
Oh, that's good for what, 80 cars that you would have been supplied.
Yeah, definitely.
So those deceleration mechanisms, I know in precision racing we used a two-stage tau method. What did you use in Evolve, George?
We also use towels.
Yeah, I think the Denford deceleration system is rather rough on cars. I know that Eleanor, who's been on the podcast before, noted that the US Nationals, they had a lot of issues with cars being roughed up by that. But I think that teams have likely been unable to test with the Denford system as well, because I don't think a lot of people used them at the previous Worlds, did they, guys?
Yeah, like at our World Finals 2019, and probably most teams brought their own braking mechanism and didn't use that system. And one thing is really important to know, that the braking mechanism probably only works when the car is perfectly aligned in the middle. And I guess we gotta go back to that topic later, yeah.
Yeah. So we also saw today from Team Spark, that some teams have a flexi wing. Now, do we know why they chose to have a flexible wing? Is this a design choice?
Yeah, you can only assume that they just want to prevent their car from braking.
Yeah, I'm not sure really what to say about the flexi wing because it was only on one car. I really can't see any reason why they wanted to do that. I think it's just they didn't make it very well.
I think it's purposeful because they've got a front wing that's perfectly stiff, and 3D printed. Sorry, but with the flexible rear wing, it definitely doesn't help deceleration because it broke off. And in Formula One, where they have flexible wings, it's because they've got to carry out two purposes. They've got to go around corners and in straights. Whereas in this, if they think that they get an advantage from the wing deforming as it runs, it actually only tells them that the shape of wing they've got is incorrect. So
Yeah, probably we can assume that the team wants to prevent the rear wing from braking because there's no really such as aerodynamic purpose like in real F1 to be, yeah, like that role is not existent in F1 in schools because we don't need downforce and just have to reduce drag.
I think yeah, I think their idea was to make it more durable in the deceleration system, but they've fallen prey to the same issue that countless other teams have. Looking here, we've got at least 5 cars or 5 teams that have experienced rear wings flying off. There were a total of 16 cars and 1 pen that broke at the competition yesterday, and so my heart goes out to all the teams who've had breakages and to Tom for the loss of his pen. But do you guys think that the teams have done a good job mitigating the breakages? Like 17 is a fair few, but I don't think it's a ridiculous amount considering the constraints of the competition.
I think the number of cars that broke, there were definitely some worries just from knowing the deceleration system we'd be using, and we were definitely a little concerned. And I think the number of cars that broke could have definitely been worse. There was some teams sent service manuals with their car.
That's genius.
Which I thought was really cool. They listed all the permutations of what could go wrong and what they wanted you to do to it if that happened.
That's bloody brilliant.
Which,
yeah,
I mean, I thought that was brilliant. Yeah.
it shows that the teams try to compensate that it's only a digital event and really think about every single competition part and try to do their best in any part to help the judges and of course themselves to be successful. Yeah, so really good job, teams.
Yeah, I think we didn't see too many breakages more than we would in a normal competition. But I think one thing that was interesting is we saw a lot of wheels falling off, possibly more than usual, which may have been to do with cars impacting with the side of the track, the walls on the side, which was possibly because the tether line seemed quite slack on some of the video feed. It seemed to be moving around quite a lot when the cars are going down the track. So this would be something to learn whether that there's a difference from usual.
And off the track, we had a conversation today and last night as well, talking with Celestial as well, that it does seem very slack. In Australia, we're looking at weights of about 5 kilograms on the end of the track, and I believe the regulations specify 2 kilograms at the end of the track to tension the line. So we're looking about 2/5 of what most of us are used to. Marcus, you commented that Germany uses 5 kilograms as well, right? Something similar.
Yeah, sure. Like in Germany, we're using 5 kilogram weights to get tension on the tether line. And sure, if you test with a different parameter, or just like different tension, you get different results in testing, because like the importance of the tether line aligning the car and not really like the importance of the tether line applying friction and stability to the car is different than in the competition, and probably some teams assumed a more tense or more force on the tether line. So probably they're surprised too. And this also affects the deceleration system, because the car has to be perfectly aligned in the middle of the racetrack, so the official deceleration system can work perfectly, because otherwise like the brushes apply too much force to the wheel parts and wing parts, like the outer parts of the car, and then these start to fall off.
I think that's a very good point. When it comes to differences in the competition this year, I think we've seen a step up in the amount of teams doing outreach to not just kids, but young women in general as well. Team Blaze have made a big point of their branding that they are a female team, and that I think that's brilliant to see that they're trying to get young women interested. And we'll hear from Quintilux now about what they've been doing to get young people and young women into F1 in schools and STEM in general.
We think that our collaborations are really cool. So basically, our title sponsor is Medtronic, and they are an international STEM company. And what we've done is we partnered with them to run a series of key seminars for young female students, where we introduce them to the F1 in Schools competition and subjects and career options in the world of STEM. And obviously our team, there's 3 girls and there's 2 boys. So there's a female majority, and we just felt that was really important, that we could use that to our advantage. Just show young girls that like you can do it too. We came into the competition not really knowing much about, I didn't know much about engineering. I didn't know much about if we'd even be up for it. And like we've just kind of shown through, and we think it's really cool. And also we partnered with the Formula Females movement, which is a national karting movement for young females in the country. And we ran the Go Girls initiative. So what we did was we visited different racing tracks around the country, and we coached thousands of female students through different aspects of motorsports, so all the way from racing down to tire pressure, just to give them like a taster of what it's really like. Sometimes I feel like when young students, especially girls, hear words like STEM and motorsport, they just think of some random lab or some random garage or something like that. But we just wanted to bring a bit of fun into it. And also another thing we did to promote STEM and the competition as a whole was the Junior F1 in Schools program. So what we did was we went out to loads of our own national schools that we went to when we were younger, and we brought the competition to them. So we gave them a hands-on flavour of the competition. We gave them cardboard little pieces that they could design and make into cars themselves, and then we raced them against each other to add a little bit of competition, a little bit of fun into the STEM and into the F1 in Schools competition as a whole.
So, guys, we've seen outreach programs before. George, you did one as part of Evolve, where you went around to primary schools and did F1 with them, didn't you? F1 in schools with them on a small scale?
Yeah, so STEM outreach, particularly to young primary school students, was particularly important to our team for several reasons. One, because it helped with the enterprise side of the judging, but also it was something we felt we should do. We gained a lot from the competition, and it also helped with our sponsors because they wanted to see that their money that they were giving to us and their support they were giving to us wasn't just going to us, but it was going to a wider community of people. And so I think STEM outreach programs are like this that we've seen from Quintilux are really important.
I think that Quintilux has taken it to 11 with those 3 programs that they outlined for us. I think they've done an outstanding job. Now, interviews will continue tomorrow. I'm sure that a lot of the teams that are listening are probably quite anxious about that. Quintilux also had something to say about that, and I think it should put your mind at ease as well if you're anxious about your interviews for tomorrow.
So yeah, we had a very early start this morning. We had our engineering interview at 9 o'clock. And it went brilliant. The competition's being ran really smoothly, and the interviewers are very friendly. So even though it's on Zoom, we're still getting across our main ideas, and it's going great. We had enterprise and we had scrutineering as well following that interview. So yeah, no, it's really been going good. We've been enjoying the competition. It's great to see. We didn't know what to expect. I don't think anyone knew what to expect. But now that we're actually doing it, they really are giving you the feel of a real world finals in some sense. So we're just happy to be taking part, and we're absolutely delighted with how it's going so far.
The nerves are still genuine, even if it's virtual.
So we heard from Quintilux that the engineering interviews are very polite and run very smoothly, and I think that's very impressive that the organisers of the competition have been able to pull off a smooth interview process in such a challenging time. I know that it doesn't always go smoothly in person. George, how did your engineering interview go?
Our engineering interview was a really interesting experience, and the judges, of course, pushed us very hard to see what we had to show them. But they were also very understanding that everyone in the competition is a school student, so we're not performing to the ability that they can. But
so like both of us have judged engineering, and I know that the little pep talk I was given for it was, and how I relate that back to my experience, is that the approach you take as the judge is very much to kind of prompt them to see if they've done the stuff that can allow you to give them more marks. You're not trying to intimidate them by asking them questions they don't know the answer to. You're trying to evidence work to give them more marks.
Yeah, it's like for us, it felt like they just give you another stage where you can just have time to shine, and they just like dig deep and really want to know or really want to find out if you did the stuff by yourself, if you really understood what you were telling them in your portfolio and all the other media stuff. And yeah, then it's just like really fun because you get the opportunity to talk about all the work you've done. Yeah, sure.
And I think it's really nice to note that some of the organisers from F1 in Schools HQ, such as Mark and Nelson, whenever we're judging them, especially when I was judging at the national finals for the UK and when Lawrence and I were scrutineering, they always reminded us that these teams have had to develop these cars online. They may not have been able to meet in person when they've been manufacturing them. And so it's really important to remember this whenever you're talking to teams. And so I think that's really nice that the judges are always encouraged to help the teams out and never push them too hard.
I think that wise advice from Mark and the organisers like that is what's making this such a smooth process. And so while you're probably still going to be nervous for your interviews, Quintilux have said it, you know, it will feel just like the same as any other World Finals, so you can only just hope to go in and do your best. So we do thank Quintilux for taking the time to speak to us today, and we wish them and the rest of you good luck in the rest of the competition. If you'd like to be on the podcast, we'll certainly try and fit you in. You can reach out to us on Instagram at Off the Track Podcasts.
Thank you for listening to today's recap of the 2020 F1 in Schools World Finals. If you want continued insights and to see interesting developments in real time, follow us on our socials at Off the Track Podcast on Instagram, at Off the Track Pod on Twitter, and our website offthetrack.net. Good luck to all teams, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Trackside is a production of Off the Track Media.